The Last Hope. Short story of a spaceship that went to a planet in search of a child to take his DNA and thus save civilization, not knowing that this young boy was a descendant of one of the oldest tribes in Africa. The spaceship Aegis Dawn sliced through the alien planet's atmosphere, its sleek, metallic hull glowing orange from the friction of entry. Inside, the crew's focus was razor-sharp. The mission was clear: find the child, extract his DNA, and return to Earth to save what remained of human civilization. The crew had heard the stories, how a genetic anomaly in a boy born on this remote world held the key to curing the genetic degradation that plagued humanity. But none of them knew who, or what, they were about to encounter. Commander Rhea Callan stood at the helm, her sharp gaze fixed on the planet's surface through the viewing screen. The terrain below was lush and green, a stark contrast to the barren wastelands Earth had become. The air shimmered with life, and dense forests sprawled out like emerald veins. This place was untouched by the decay humanity had wrought on its own home. "Scanners indicate a life form within 5 clicks of our landing site," said Lieutenant Keane, his voice steady but tinged with unease. "It's isolated. Likely the target." Rhea nodded. "Prepare the team. We'll move in fast and quiet." The forest was alive with sound. Birds with iridescent feathers flitted through the canopy, and strange, glowing insects buzzed in the humid air. The team moved in formation, their weapons ready, though the planet seemed peaceful. They found the boy by a river. He couldn't have been more than 13, his dark skin glistening in the sunlight. He wore simple garments made of woven plant fibers, and his hair was coiled tightly against his scalp. But what struck Rhea wasn't his appearance, it was his calmness. He stood at the riverbank, washing his hands, as if he had been expecting them. "Is that him?" Keane whispered. Rhea checked the scanner. The DNA signature was a perfect match. "That's him." She stepped forward, lowering her weapon to appear non-threatening. "We're not here to hurt you," she said gently. "We need your help." The boy turned to face her, his dark eyes unreadable but piercing. He didn't speak, yet there was an undeniable presence about him, as though he carried a wisdom far beyond his years. "Do you understand me?" Rhea asked. The boy nodded. Then, in a voice steady and rich, he replied, "I understand. You've come for my blood." The team froze. How could he know that? "You know why we're here?" Rhea asked, her voice betraying her surprise. "Yes," the boy said, stepping closer. "You seek to save your people. But you do not understand the cost." Rhea frowned. "What do you mean?" The boy gestured to the land around them. "This place was once like your Earth. Vibrant, alive. My ancestors came here long ago, fleeing the destruction of their home. They carried with them the knowledge of balance, of harmony. But those who sought only to take, like you, destroyed it." Keane bristled. "We're not here to destroy anything. We're here to save billions of lives." The boy's gaze hardened. "Your survival cannot come at the expense of others. You think my blood will save you, but you are wrong. It will only prolong your suffering if you do not change." Rhea felt a knot form in her stomach. The boy's words were unsettling, as though he could see through their intentions and into the heart of humanity's failings. But the stakes were too high to turn back. "We don't have a choice," she said, her voice firm. "Without your DNA, our people will die." The boy studied her for a long moment. Then he stepped closer, extending his arm. "Take it, then. But know this, what you take without understanding, you cannot truly use." Back on the Aegis Dawn, the scientists worked feverishly to extract and sequence the boy's DNA. It was everything they had hoped for, a genetic blueprint untouched by the mutations that had ravaged humanity over centuries. Rhea watched from the observation deck, a heavy sense of unease settling over her. The boy had come willingly, yet his warning echoed in her mind. "Commander," Keen said, approaching her. "We've got what we came for. Should we return him to the planet?" Rhea hesitated, glancing at the boy, who sat calmly in the med bay. "No. We bring him back to Earth. He may know more than he's letting on." What the crew didn't realize was that the boy carried more than just ancient DNA. He carried a legacy, a connection to the Earth's oldest tribe, descendants of the first humans who had lived in harmony with nature. He wasn't just their savior, he was their reckoning. When the Aegis Dawn returned to Earth, the boy stepped onto the decayed planet and knelt, pressing his hands into the soil. The ground trembled beneath him, cracks spreading like veins of fire. "You sought my blood to heal your people," he said, his voice resonating across the barren wasteland. "But the cure was never in my veins. It was in the way my people lived. Your salvation lies in humility, in learning to give back to the Earth instead of taking." As the world around them began to transform, plants sprouting from barren ground, rivers flowing where there had been none, the boy stood and turned to Rhea. "Your people will have a chance to start over. Do not waste it." Then, as suddenly as he had come into their lives, he was gone, leaving the crew to marvel at the rebirth of their dying planet. And for the first time in centuries, Earth began to heal. As the boy disappeared into the reborn wilderness, Rhea felt a strange mix of awe and dread. The barren wasteland that had stretched as far as the eye could see now shimmered with the beginnings of life, shoots of green breaking through the cracked soil, vibrant streams carving their way through the once parched earth. The crew of the Aegis Dawn stood in stunned silence. Keen was the first to speak. "What just happened?" His voice was barely above a whisper, his usual confidence replaced by uncertainty. "Was that him? Did he do this?" Rhea nodded slowly, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "It wasn't just him. It was what he represents. He wasn't just some boy with ancient DNA, he was a living connection to something we've forgotten. Something we destroyed." Keen frowned. "You think he planned this? That he wanted us to take him back?" "I don't think it was about planning," Rhea said, her voice quiet but steady. "I think he wanted us to see. To understand." As days turned into weeks, the transformation of Earth became impossible to ignore. Vegetation spread rapidly, reclaiming desolate landscapes with startling speed. Air quality improved, and for the first time in generations, people could see the stars without the haze of pollution. Rivers began to flow, their waters crystal clear, bringing life to areas that had been deserts for centuries. News of the boy's mysterious arrival and the subsequent revival of the planet spread like wildfire. Governments, scientists, and spiritual leaders all sought to understand what had happened. The DNA samples taken from the boy were studied, revealing more mysteries than answers. His genetic structure was unlike anything seen before, ancient and advanced, carrying markers that suggested a deep connection to the very fabric of the planet's ecosystems. But the boy himself was nowhere to be found. Rhea spent her days organizing relief efforts and coordinating with the burgeoning global coalition that had formed to protect and nurture the planet's regrowth. Despite the hope and renewal, she couldn't shake the boy's final words. "Your salvation lies in humility." The question gnawed at her. Humanity had been given a second chance, but had they learned enough from their mistakes to make it count? Or would they fall into the same patterns of exploitation and greed that had brought them to the brink of extinction? Keen found her one evening, standing at the edge of a forest that had grown where a barren desert once lay. The air was alive with the sounds of chirping insects and rustling leaves. "You've been out here for hours," he said, handing her a canteen. "Thinking about him?" "Always," Rhea admitted. "He trusted us, Keen. He trusted me. I just don't know if we deserve it." Keen gave a dry chuckle. "Deserve it or not, we've got a planet that's alive again. Maybe this is our shot to prove we can do better." Rhea nodded but said nothing. Deep down, she knew it wasn't just about proving themselves. It was about unlearning centuries of arrogance and finding a way to live in harmony with the world they'd been given. Months later, the first council meeting of the United Earth Initiative convened under the canopy of a sprawling forest in what was once the arid Sahara. Delegates from every corner of the globe gathered not in grand buildings but in open air, surrounded by the very life they sought to protect. Rhea stood at the center of the gathering, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. "We have been given a gift, a chance to start over. But this isn't about rebuilding what we lost. It's about becoming something better. Something worthy of the life this planet is giving us." As her words echoed through the clearing, Rhea felt a strange sense of calm. For the first time in years, she believed humanity might have a future, not just one of survival, but of coexistence and understanding. And somewhere, deep within the forest that now blanketed the earth, the boy watched silently, a faint smile on his lips. His work was done, for now. The rest was up to them.